My name is BJ Cole. I play pedal steel guitar. I'm a musician from London, England, and I've been playing the pedal steel guitar since, well, for the last 50 years plus. And I've played sessions with many famous people, including Elton John, Scott Walker, Andy Fairweather-Lowe, Jerry Rafferty, many too many you can to relate here, but you can find a list of them on my website, which is www.bjcole.co.uk. If you go there, you'll find a big list of people I've played with over the last 50 years on recording sessions. I've been here before with Hal. I played a festival for him about 3 years ago with Emily Burridge. We did his festival 3 years ago, and had a great time, and he's been very helpful and to us in this country. He's such a fantastic man. He does such a great job for music in general and for the guitar in particular. And I produced one of his last records in London, so I do producing as well. Well, it's a cousin of the regular guitar, insofar as the sliding technique that you use on the pedal steel evolved from regular guitar back in the 19th century in Hawaii. Hence it's called the Hawaiian guitar, and it's played with a slide. But since then, in the past 100 and odd years, the instrument has evolved because it became very big in the United States, and American players developed the instrument and made it much more sophisticated, amplified it, and made it what it is today. And you tend to hear it mostly in country music, but I'm using it in many other forms of music, and I make a point of trying to expand the potential of the pedal steel guitar into other sorts of music. And in particular, with what I do with Emily Burridge, we explore classical repertoire that I think suits the instrument. That is Debussy, Satie, French Impressionist composers, and that sound world. And I'm also very influenced by Brian Eno and ambient music, and the stuff he did with Daniel Lanois back in the 80s for Apollo and some of the ambient records he put out. He used pedal steel in exactly the sort of way that I am now attempting to do. So that was very influential to me, and I did some records like that under the name of Transparent Music. And then I got to a point where I felt it would be nice to have more validity with the instrument in a proper classical context. So I found Emily Burridge, as well as working with other people, but I found Emily Burridge, who is a first-rate virtuoso cellist, and feel that what we do together has much more validity as interpretations of pieces by Debussy and Satie than would otherwise be the case if I'm working with a player of that stature. At the very first Glastonbury, I can't remember. But if you ask anybody that was at the first Glastonbury, they wouldn't be able to remember either.
Yeah, we know the reasons. Yeah.
Well, that's the right answer, isn't it?
Okay.
I was at one of the first Glastonburys with a band called Coaches that I was working with between 1969 and 1982. 1972, get this right. 1969 and 1972 I was working with a band called Coaches, and we played Glastonbury. That's as close as I'll get, you know, so I don't know exactly which Glastonbury I played, but it was one of them. And it was fantastic. I mean, it was a real counterculture. I must say, I find it hard to play Glastonbury now because it's very much a corporate affair, as big festivals tend to be. And back then it represented something that was completely the opposite to that. Well, I find myself in Croatia, and I believe there are a few pedal steel players in Croatia playing in country bands, and I would like to say to them, you know, find some other sorts of music to explore with the pedal steel guitar, because otherwise the instrument will become stereotyped more in the general public's eyes, and it will die out. And it needs to be. It's such a fantastic instrument, and there are so many musical avenues it has yet to explore. So if there's anybody out there playing pedal steel, explore some new musical directions. Well, I just think this is a fantastic thing. You know, the Flying Guitar Festival is a tremendous enterprise, and I've got to applaud the people of Varaždin in their attempts to establish this festival. And of course, Hal is behind part of it as well, and he does so much good work. And if there are any other people that want to create new musical directions and festivals and new events, they should take his example and get out there and make it happen, because he does so much good in this country.
I'm Emily Burridge from the UK, and I'm cellist and composer, and so together with BJ Cole, in this circumstance we have a duo. So it is my first time in Varaždin. Yes, it is. But second time in Croatia. Yeah. Well, what has come across so much is that you have a undercurrent in this town, which stems with history, with guitar, and so in that way, I think for the future, it'll be an inspiration for young people in this town. You know, I mean, I was surprised last night there were only 3 guitarists in the audience at the King Festival, which was a surprise. It's actually, in many ways, the repertoire is the most classical I get, because even though I had a massive classical background, there's been a healthy reaction towards it. And because more creative and improvising on the cello, so that originally got me into a sort of more rock context and touring and session work, you know, on records. And then it was through a mutual friend who suggested, obviously BJ's been exploring this repertoire on earlier albums, and so it's now 15 years. 15 years ago we met, which is amazing. It really is. It's a great thing to develop over such a period of time, you know, because there's an intuitive element which is so vital within the composition of an ensemble, you know, that only comes with time. And it's also great because we explore completely new repertoire for both instruments. So the way is guided very much by what is a good basis on the pedal steel guitar. But you know, so maybe BJ mentioned the Satin Ozians. I
didn't talk specifically about development of Eric Satie's.
Okay, so they're originally for the piano. So he has the guts and nerves of steel, pun, to take on these pieces. Actually, they're incredibly complex, and then I find notes within it, and we exchange themes, and create completely new arrangements of repertoire, and the French romantic composers like Debussy, Ravel, Eric Satie, particularly really suit, and BJ loves that repertoire as well. So then, you know, we've taken it into this context, and then we have windows where we can be creative, improvise.
And we have our own pieces we write as well. Emily's written some pieces, I've written pieces, so we do our own material as well. It isn't just other people's repertoire, it's, you know, we are doing our own music as well, and probably in the future more so.
Yeah. And things like Cry Me a River, you know, real old standards.
Yeah. Old standards, we can go in any direction, it's great, are
mixed in, and so, I mean, that, you know, you'll hear.
It wasn't that. It was a momentary thing. Yeah.
It was a momentary lapse of reason, as they say.
You just encounter the wrong job's worth on the desk, you know. And you talk to them, and they say no, and they have to back it up, you know. And then
there was a dream. There was an angel at Croatian Air that went, "What's the problem?"